"What makes you happy?" my ex-girlfriend's mother whispered across the table, and I realized we were both sitting in the same expensive restaurant, both abandoned on our blind dates, both pretending we weren't completely broken inside. I didn't have an answer for her. I'm not sure I'd had an answer for months. But that question, asked by the one person who should have been off limits, the one person I should have walked away from, somehow became the beginning of the most complicated, unexpected thing that's ever happened to me. Let me back up and explain how I ended up there.
3 months before that night, Vanessa Chen ended our 5-year relationship in a coffee shop. Not even our coffee shop, just some random Starbucks she'd chosen specifically because it was neutral territory. She told me she'd fallen in love with someone else, a coworker named Marcus. They'd been working late together on a project, and it just happened. It just happened, like she'd tripped and fallen into a relationship. Like 5 years of us building a life together could be erased by accidental feelings for someone else. "I'm sorry, Dylan," she'd said, and she did look sorry. "But I have to be honest about what I feel. It wouldn't be fair to you to stay when my heart isn't in it anymore." The worst part was I couldn't even hate her properly. She'd been honest. She'd told me before doing anything physical with Marcus. She'd tried to do the right thing in the most devastating way possible. I moved out of our shared apartment the next week. 3 months later, I was still going through the motions. Work, gym, sleep, repeat. My best friend Kyle decided enough was enough. "You need to get back out there," he said, cornering me at my apartment with the determination of someone staging an intervention. "I know someone, friend of a friend. She's great. Just one date." "I don't want to date anyone." "You also don't want to spend every Friday night eating cereal and watching reruns. Come on, man. One dinner. If it's terrible, I'll never bug you again." That's how I found myself at Lumiere on a Friday night, one of those restaurants where the lighting was designed to make everyone look mysterious, and the prices were designed to make you regret every life choice that led you there. The kind of place where ordering water felt like a statement of inadequacy. I'd been waiting 20 minutes. My supposed date was officially late. I'd checked my phone approximately 15 times, hoping for a message that never came. I was contemplating the most dignified way to leave when I noticed her. 3 tables away, a woman sat alone, early 40s, elegant in a way that suggested natural grace rather than effort. She wore a deep green dress and kept glancing at her phone with an expression I recognized intimately, hope slowly curdling into resignation. Then my brain made the connection, and my stomach dropped.
Isabelle Chen, Vanessa's mother. Of all the restaurants in this city, we'd both ended up here. Both alone, both, I realized with dawning horror, being stood up. Our eyes met across the dining room. I watched recognition hit her the same way it had hit me. Surprise followed immediately by embarrassment. She looked away quickly, a flush creeping up her neck. This was a nightmare. I should leave. I should absolutely leave right now and pretend this never happened. But she looked so isolated sitting there, so unlike the composed woman I'd known from family dinners and holidays. And something about seeing her alone, abandoned just like me, made the decision for me. I stood up and walked over to her table. "Isabelle," I said softly. She looked up sharply, and I could see her weighing whether to acknowledge me or pretend she hadn't noticed who I was. Finally, she said, "Dylan, this is unexpected. Can I sit?" I gestured to the empty chair. "Looks like we're both having the same kind of evening." For a long moment, I thought she'd say no. Her expression was guarded, almost panicked. "Dylan, I don't think that's a good idea. This is awkward enough without—" I know it's awkward, but I've been sitting alone for 20 minutes watching my phone, and you've been doing the same thing. And honestly, I'd rather face awkwardness than sit alone for another minute." Something in her expression softened. She gestured to the chair. "Then sit. God knows I understand not wanting to be alone right now." I sat down, my heart pounding, not entirely sure what I was doing, but committed to it now. For what it's worth, I didn't want to be here in the first place. My friend Kyle ambushed me into this, said I needed to get back out there. A setup? A small smile crossed her face. Mine was arranged by a colleague. She insisted she knew someone perfect for me, someone age-appropriate and financially stable, like those are the only criteria that matter. She checked her phone again, then set it face down with finality. I think I've been officially abandoned. Me too. Guess we're both not worth the parking fee. She laughed, and it sounded surprised, like she hadn't expected to find anything funny about this situation. We really are pathetic, aren't we? Two people stood up on the same night in the same overpriced restaurant. Cosmically pathetic, I agreed. The waiter appeared, hovering with the particular energy of someone who needed us to order or leave. Isabelle glanced at the menu, then at me, something shifting in her expression. "Have you eaten?" "No." "Neither have I. I was too nervous earlier." She paused. "Would you like to have dinner, since we're both here? I mean, is that completely insane?" "Probably," I said honestly, "but I'd like that." We ordered. She got the sea bass, I got the lamb, and we split a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my monthly utilities. The initial awkwardness began to fade as we talked, carefully avoiding the obvious topic hovering between us. "How have you been?" she asked after our food arrived. Really, I mean, not the polite answer. I took a sip of wine, considering how honest to be. "Not great. I feel like I'm walking around in this fog where everything looks familiar, but nothing feels real, like I'm watching my own life from outside myself." "I know exactly what you mean." Her voice was quiet. "More than you probably realize. Can I ask you something? And please tell me if I'm out of line. At this point, I think we're past worrying about lines. Why are you on a blind date? You're beautiful, successful, kind. I can't imagine you having trouble meeting people."
Isabelle looked down at her wine glass, and when she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "That's generous of you to say. The truth is, I've been alone for 7 years, Dylan. 7 years since my divorce, and I've convinced myself I'm fine with it, that I don't need anyone. But lately, I wake up in the middle of the night and realize I'm so lonely I can barely breathe." The raw honesty in her voice made my chest ache. "I'm sorry, that sounds awful." "The divorce was—" She stopped, seeming to gather herself. "My ex-husband, Vanessa's father, he had an affair with his assistant. Cliché, right? Worked late, business trips, all the classic signs I was too busy to notice. Or maybe I noticed and didn't want to see." She took a long drink of wine. "When I found out, I was devastated. But you know what the worst part was? He didn't even seem guilty. He said he'd fallen in love, like that justified everything, like our 20 years together meant nothing compared to his new feelings." I felt something twist in my stomach. Jesus, Isabelle. After the divorce, everyone said, take time, focus on yourself, don't rush into anything. So I didn't. I took all the time. I built a new career, a new life. And somewhere along the way, I forgot how to let anyone in. I convinced myself I was better off alone. She looked at me with glistening eyes. "But I'm not better off. I'm just going through the motions, pretending everything is fine when really I'm drowning in this silence." I understood exactly what she meant. After Vanessa left, my apartment became this echo chamber. All these routines we used to share, all these spaces we occupied together, and now it's just me. And some days I wonder if I'll ever feel whole again, or if this is just what life is now. "Vanessa told me you took the breakup hard." Isabelle's voice was gentle. "I wanted to reach out, to say something, but I didn't know if that would be appropriate. And honestly, I was dealing with my own feelings about it." "Your own feelings?" She hesitated, then seemed to decide honesty was the only option. "I was angry at her, furious, actually. You were good to her, Dylan. You were patient and kind, and you loved her genuinely, and she threw that away for someone she barely knew." Her voice hardened. It reminded me too much of what her father did to me. That same casual dismissal of commitment, that same "I can't help how I feel" excuse. You never said anything. She's my daughter. I couldn't take sides, not openly. But watching her hurt you the same way I'd been hurt, she shook her head. It broke my heart. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of shared pain settling between us. What makes you happy, Dylan? Not what should make you happy or what used to make you happy. Right now, in this moment, what actually brings you joy? I thought about it, really thought about it. Honestly, I don't know anymore. I've been so focused on just surviving each day that I forgot to think about actually living. What about you? I don't know either, she whispered. Isn't that terrible? I'm 43 years old and I can't answer a simple question about what makes me happy. Maybe that's something we both need to figure out. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something passed between us, a connection that went beyond our shared history with Vanessa, beyond the coincidence of being stood up on the same night. It was recognition. Two people who understood what it meant to be lonely in a crowd, to go through the motions while feeling empty inside. "I like talking to you," she said softly. "Is that strange to say?" "No, I like talking to you too." Her date never showed up. Neither did mine. We stayed for 3 hours, talking about everything. Her work in marketing, my software engineering, our favorite books, places we wanted to travel, dreams we'd given up on. The restaurant staff started giving us pointed looks, but neither of us wanted to leave. Finally, reluctantly, we paid the check and walked outside into the cool evening air. "Thank you," Isabelle said, "for sitting with me, for making what could have been a humiliating evening into something nice." "It was more than nice," I said honestly. "It was the best conversation I've had in months." She smiled, and in the streetlight she looked younger, less burdened. Would you want to do this again sometime? Just talking, I mean, as friends." I should have said no, should have recognized the danger in spending more time with my ex-girlfriend's mother, but looking at her, seeing the hope and vulnerability in her expression, I couldn't bring myself to walk away. "I'd like that, a lot." We exchanged numbers, and as I walked home, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, anticipation, not for what was, but for what could be. Over the next 3 weeks, Isabelle and I met 6 times. Coffee on Saturday mornings, lunch on Tuesdays, a museum exhibit she wanted to see, a bookstore where we spent 2 hours browsing and debating our favorite authors. Every time I told myself it was just friendship, two lonely people finding comfort in each other's company, nothing more complicated than that. But I was lying to myself. I noticed everything about her, the way she laughed with her whole body, how she always ordered decaf after 2 p.m. because regular coffee kept her awake, the small crinkle near her eyes when she smiled genuinely, the sadness that sometimes crossed her face when she thought I wasn't looking. I noticed that I thought about her constantly, that I looked forward to our meetings with an intensity that felt dangerous, that when I was with her, the fog I'd been living in lifted, and I felt like myself again. And I noticed with equal parts excitement and terror that she seemed to feel the same way. "This is the best part of my week," she admitted one afternoon as we sat in a park, watching people pass by. "These few hours with you. Is that pathetic?" "If it is, we're pathetic together." She turned to look at me, and something in her expression made my heart race. "Dylan, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay." "Why do you keep meeting me? Really? Is it because you're lonely and I'm convenient? Because you remind me of Vanessa? Because you're trying to get back at her somehow?" The question hit me like a physical blow, because I'd been asking myself the same thing, lying awake at night trying to understand my own motivations. "I don't know," I said slowly. "At first, maybe it was just loneliness, finding someone who understood what I was going through. But now I think about you all the time. I look forward to seeing you. When something happens, you're the person I want to tell. And I'm terrified, Isabelle, because you're supposed to be off limits. You're Vanessa's mother. There are 1,000 reasons this is a terrible idea.
But, she prompted softly, but I can't seem to stay away. And I don't know if that makes me a terrible person or just someone who found something unexpected and doesn't want to let it go. She was quiet for a long moment. I feel the same way, and I've been torturing myself, wondering if I'm using you to fill a void, or if this is real, or if I'm betraying Vanessa somehow by having feelings for you. Are these feelings? I asked. Is that what this is? I think so. God help me, I think so. We sat there in silence, the admission hanging between us, charged and dangerous. What do we do? She asked. I don't know, but I don't want to stop seeing you. Neither do I. That's when everything changed. A week later, Isabelle called me, her voice shaking. Dylan, we need to talk, in person, now. We met at a coffee shop near her house. She looked pale, her usual composure completely shattered. Vanessa knows, she said as soon as I sat down. She saw us, last Tuesday at the bookstore. She saw us together, and Dylan, she's furious. My stomach dropped. What did she say? She came to my house last night, showed up unannounced, and started yelling. Said she couldn't believe I would do this to her, that you were using me to get revenge on her for the breakup, that I was being manipulated and couldn't see it. Isabelle's hands were shaking. She said if I kept seeing you, she'd never forgive me. Jesus, Isabelle, I'm so sorry. She accused you of all sorts of things, said you were targeting me deliberately because you knew it would hurt her, that you didn't actually care about me, you just wanted to get back at her through me. Her eyes filled with tears. Dylan, please tell me that's not true. Please tell me I haven't been completely fooled. The pain in her voice cut through me. It's not true, Isabelle. I swear to you, when I sat down at your table that night, I wasn't thinking about revenge or manipulation. I was thinking about how lonely you looked and how much I didn't want to be alone. Everything since then has been real. Are you sure? Because I've been asking myself the same question. Am I just a way to hurt Vanessa? A middle finger to your ex? No, I said firmly, reaching across the table to take her hand. You're not a consolation prize or revenge or anything except exactly who you are. You're someone who makes me laugh, someone who understands me, someone I've developed real feelings for, regardless of how complicated that is. She squeezed my hand, tears spilling over. This is so complicated, Dylan. She's my daughter. I can't lose her. I know, and I would never ask you to choose between us. But that's exactly what she's asking me to do. Isabelle pulled her hand back, wiping at her tears. She said I had to stop seeing you, that if I really loved her, I'd end this before it went any further. My heart sank. What are you going to do? Before she could answer, her phone rang. She looked at the screen, then at me. It's Vanessa. She wants to meet, both of us, tonight. We met at Isabelle's house, neutral territory, though it felt anything but neutral. Vanessa was already there when I arrived, pacing in the living room like a caged animal. When she saw me, fury blazed across her face. You've got some nerve showing up here. Vanessa, Isabelle started. No, Mom, let him explain himself. She turned to me, arms crossed. What the hell are you doing? Dating my mother? Really? That's how you decided to handle our breakup? It's not like that, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you found the one person guaranteed to hurt me the most and decided to pursue her. That's sick, Dylan. I didn't pursue anyone. We ran into each other by accident. We were both on failed blind dates, both lonely, and we started talking. That's all. That's all? She laughed bitterly. You expect me to believe you just coincidentally started dating my mother with no ulterior motives? I'm not dating your mother. You're just what, friends? Please, I saw how you were looking at each other at that bookstore. That wasn't friendship. Isabelle stepped between us. Vanessa, that's enough. You need to calm down.
Calm down. Mom, he's using you. Can't you see that? He's still angry about the breakup, and he's using you to get back at me." "That's not true," I said, but my voice sounded defensive even to my own ears. "Isn't it?" Vanessa's eyes blazed. "Be honest, Dylan. When you sat down at her table that night, were you thinking about her as a person, or were you thinking about how I'd react if I found out?" The question stopped me cold, because I'd been asking myself the same thing for weeks. Had there been some subconscious part of me that saw an opportunity for revenge? Some dark satisfaction in the idea of Vanessa finding out? I started, then stopped. "I don't know. Maybe at first some part of me was thinking about you, but everything since then was built on that foundation," Vanessa finished. "You can't tell me your relationship with my mother isn't at least partially about getting back at me. And Mom," she turned to Isabelle, "you can't tell me you're not partly drawn to him because he reminds you of Dad's affair. You're recreating your trauma through him." Isabelle went pale. "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but is it true?" The silence was deafening. I watched Isabelle struggle with the question, watched doubt creep across her features, and felt my own certainty crumbling. "I need you to leave," Vanessa said to me, her voice cold, "and I need you to stay away from my mother. She's been through enough without you using her for whatever sick revenge fantasy you've cooked up." "Vanessa, you don't get to dictate," Isabelle started. "Mom, please, if you care about me at all, you'll end this. He's my ex-boyfriend. This is inappropriate and hurtful and wrong, and you know it." I looked at Isabelle, saw the anguish on her face, the impossible position Vanessa had put her in. "I should go," I said quietly. "I'm sorry for all of this." I left without another word, drove home in a daze, and spent the night questioning everything I thought I knew about my own motivations.
2 days later, my phone rang. "Isabelle, can you come over?" Her voice was strange, calm but with steel underneath. "Vanessa is here. We need to talk." I almost said no, almost protected myself from more accusations and doubt, but something in Isabelle's voice made me go. When I arrived, both women were sitting in the living room. Vanessa looked sullen. Isabelle looked determined. "Sit down, Dylan," Isabelle said, and I did. She turned to Vanessa. "I've spent the last 2 days thinking about what you said, about my motivations, about Dylan's intentions, about everything, and I've come to some conclusions." "Mom," Vanessa started. "No, you've said your piece. Now it's my turn." Isabelle's voice was firm. "You accused Dylan of using me for revenge. Maybe there was some truth to that at first. I don't know. But I know what I've felt these past few weeks. I know that for the first time in 7 years, I've felt seen, understood, happy. And yes, Vanessa, happy. Not content, not managing, but actually happy." Vanessa's expression tightened. "But he's what? Your ex-boyfriend? Yes, and that's complicated. But you know what else is complicated? Watching you throw away a good man for someone you barely knew. Watching you do to Dylan exactly what your father did to me. Decide your feelings matter more than someone else's heart." Isabelle's voice cracked slightly. "I bit my tongue then because you're my daughter, but I won't bite my tongue about my own life anymore." "So, what are you saying?" Vanessa asked quietly. "I'm saying I have feelings for Dylan, real ones, and I'm not going to apologize for that or end it just because you're uncomfortable. He's using you. Maybe he was at first, but you know what? I've spent 7 years protecting myself from being used or hurt, and all it's gotten me is loneliness. Maybe taking a risk on someone, even if it might hurt, is better than guaranteeing I'll never feel anything at all." Vanessa stood up. "So that's it? You're choosing him over me?" "I'm not choosing anyone over you. I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing to be happy. I'm choosing to stop sacrificing my life for other people's comfort." Isabelle stood too, facing her daughter. "And here's what I need you to understand.
If you want to see me happy, if you want your mother to have a life beyond just existing, you need to give Dylan a chance. Not for his sake, for mine. Mom, I have spent 7 years alone, Vanessa. 7 years watching you live your life while I put mine on hold. I supported you through your relationship with Dylan. I supported you through the breakup, even when I thought you were making a mistake. I supported you when you started dating Marcus 3 weeks later. Now I'm asking you to support me, just this once. Tears were streaming down Vanessa's face. This is so wrong. Maybe, but it's my wrong to make. Isabelle's voice softened. I love you. You're my daughter, and nothing will change that. But I can't keep living for you. I can't keep putting my happiness last just to make you comfortable. Vanessa looked at me, then at her mother, and I watched something shift in her expression. Not acceptance exactly, but recognition, like she was seeing her mother clearly for the first time. You've really been that lonely? She asked quietly. Yes. I didn't know. You always seemed fine. I got very good at seeming fine. Isabelle wiped at her eyes. But I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of being fine when what I really want is to be happy. Vanessa sat back down heavily. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then finally, she looked at me. If you hurt her, Dylan, I will never forgive you. I know. I mean it. She's my mother. Whatever happened between us, she doesn't deserve to be collateral damage in someone's revenge fantasy. It's not a revenge fantasy, I said quietly. It stopped being that the first time she told me about her divorce, the first time I saw how much pain she was carrying. I can't promise I won't hurt her. I can't promise that about anyone. But I can promise I'm not using her. She matters to me, really matters. Vanessa looked at her mother. You're sure about this? I'm sure that I want to try. That's all anyone can ever be sure of. Another long silence. Then finally, Vanessa nodded just once. Fine. For your sake, Mom, I'll try. I'll give him a chance. But this is weird and complicated, and I'm probably going to need therapy to process it. Isabelle laughed through her tears. That's all I'm asking. Just try.
It wasn't easy after that. Vanessa kept her distance, processing everything in her own way. Family dinners were awkward. There were moments of tension, uncomfortable silences, times when I caught Vanessa looking at us with an expression I couldn't quite read. But slowly, gradually, things started to shift. Vanessa saw how her mother smiled more, laughed more, seemed lighter. She saw that I wasn't using Isabelle for revenge. I was genuinely, deeply falling for her. And one day, 3 months after that confrontation, Vanessa pulled me aside at a family dinner. I owe you an apology, she said. I was so caught up in how weird this was that I couldn't see how good you've been for her. She's happy, Dylan, really happy, and I haven't seen her like that since before the divorce. Thank you, I said. That means a lot. I'm still processing all of this. It's still weird, but... She managed a small smile. But I'm glad she has you, even if it makes family gatherings eternally awkward. I laughed. I can live with awkward. 6 months after that night at Lumiere, Isabelle and I were sitting in the same park where we'd first admitted our feelings. She leaned against me, comfortable and content. What makes you happy? She asked, echoing her question from our first dinner together. This time, I had an answer. This, I said, simply. You, us, taking the risk even when it was terrifying. Me too, she whispered. I'm happy, Dylan. For the first time in so long, I'm actually happy. Was it complicated? Yes. Were there still awkward moments with Vanessa? Absolutely. Did people judge us when they found out our history? All the time. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the right person comes into your life in the wrong way. Sometimes you have to risk everything,
comfort, approval, certainty for a chance at something real. Isabelle and I both went to that restaurant expecting nothing, hoping for distraction from our loneliness. Instead, we found each other. And yeah, it was messy and complicated and started from a place of pain. But what grew from that pain was genuine, beautiful, worth every awkward family dinner and judgmental look. Sometimes happiness doesn't come in the package you expected. Sometimes it comes wrapped in complications and challenges and questions about your own motivations. But it's still happiness, and that's worth fighting for. What makes me happy? Isabelle. Her laugh, her strength, her willingness to take a risk on something unexpected. The way she looks at me like I'm worth the complications. The life we're building together, despite everything. That's my answer. And finally, after so long, I know it's true.